These files were never meant to be public, but someone reopened them. This is the Dark Bureau. Beneath the ceaseless flow of Tokyo's online life, dozens of ordinary-seeming ads pierce urban social feeds every hour. Each interaction, a click, a fleeting pause, an idle scroll, is harvested and indexed. At first, the experience feels routine. Targeted content, endless lifestyle aspirations, a gentle nudge towards the next trending event. But a new breed of cult is using the architecture of algorithmic suggestion with unnerving purpose. Behind the neutral interfaces of digital commerce, sophisticated groups wage psychological campaigns against millions, mapping, profiling and determining, moment by moment, who is invited deeper into the fold and who disappears into a silence guarded by code. Gone are the ostentatious displays and street corner zealotry of the past. The faces behind this movement remain masked. Their language is a clever blend of wellness, success and encrypted community, carefully chosen to evade both suspicion and direct scrutiny. On the surface, recruitment manifests as nothing more sinister than a personalised advert for a virtual seminar or a friend request from an upbeat stranger. In reality, what feels tailor-made is exactly that, the result of relentless, unseen computation, refining itself with every digital trace left behind. Though the scale of this phenomenon intensifies, authorities offer little resistance. Law enforcement rarely intervenes. Regulatory agencies, stymied by complex jurisdictional lines and technological lag, fail to keep pace. Major tech platforms, eager to optimize engagement and profits, flag almost nothing. In mainstream media, silence dominates, besides the rare, vague mention of digital harms. Publicly, the surface is spotless, even as urban young adults are coaxed into intricate webs of psychological manipulation, their digital footprints methodically sifted, their autonomy quietly rewritten by data's invisible hand. This case file traces a concealed architecture, an interlocking distributed system of cult networks leveraging the latest in behavioural algorithms. It dissects how these groups exploit large-scale data, evade both governmental oversight and platform accountability, and translate computational precision into real-world belief and dependency. Each digital action is a possible entry point, every viral post a camouflaged funnel. Our investigation unspools layer by layer, the machinery turning mass surveillance into orchestration of faith and identity, exposing not only methods, but the foundational consequences for modern autonomy. Importantly, this system is not the cult of a single leader or isolated ideology. It is a lattice, a sprawling, adaptive grid of predictive technology, content platforms, and shifting social pressures, seamlessly integrating the expectations of a hyper-connected society. The network adapts constantly. What seem like isolated incidents, an unexpected invitation, sudden ghosting by a friend, a viral meme that leads to a private chat, are the surface tremors of a deeper, algorithmically managed process. Push deeper, and investigators find that any large-scale targeting infrastructure built for marketing or influence can be subverted, allowing engineered trust and manufactured connection to flourish unchallenged. Structural analysis of these digital cults reveals an iterative, data-driven recruitment pipeline. Initial contact is subtle, a personalised invitation to a mindfulness event, participation in a community Discord, or a playfully anonymous direct message from an influencer account. Each response is measured and recorded. AI-powered outreach tools, trained on thousands of previous success stories, test psychological hooks against individual vulnerabilities, recent breakups, public exam anxieties, evidence of isolation. As a sense of friendship and belonging is gradually established, not by coincidence, but by algorithmic strategy, prospects are looped into ever more insular online spaces with tailored content, auto-moderated forums, and escalating nudges towards offline commitments. Unlike traditional brainwashing, belief and loyalty are constructed inside code itself, optimized over endless feedback cycles. Evidence is almost always fragmented and ephemeral. Digital traces are scattered, buried in innocuous subreddits, masked within influencer campaigns, or dissolved behind disappearing chat logs. When rare insiders are granted access, they find no straightforward archives to pass, only anonymized receipts, encrypted transactions, and system logs auto-wiped by self-destructing scripts. Investigators labour to piece together abandoned accounts, unravelled crypto flows, and machine-generated activity patterns, knowing that every advance triggers the system to shift tactics once more. As the focus grows, the historical timeline reveals a critical pivot. The escalation of digital cult targeting in Japan precisely tracks with the post-2015 boom in behavioural ad technology. Classic recruitment methods, leafleting, in-person seminars, street solicitation, dwindle as viral messaging and algorithmic suggestion chains rise. Rapidly, cult operations evolve more than just their messaging. Internal documents gathered through subpoena or undercover infiltration show personnel collaborating with behavioural scientists to script onboarding flows tailored to seasonal pressures, university entrance exams, employment deadlines, and annual bouts of urban isolation. The online pitch changes as external stresses mount, iteratively refined by live performance data. Institutional responses are stymied by unfamiliarity with the complexity and adaptability of these digital systems. Police investigators initially flag cases as individual online harassment or fraud, missing the interconnected circuitry beneath sporadic complaints. Even when abrupt, large-scale dropouts among young professionals or students raised alarms, authorities failed to connect mass withdrawals to targeted algorithmic outreach. Financial investigations found dispersed, anonymised funding flows, crowdfunding sites, and cryptocurrency wallets. But connections to registered religious entities were oblique, shrouded in networks of shell corporations and dummy directors. Regulatory agencies, constrained by outdated frameworks, categorised cult operations as content startups, mistakenly viewing algorithmic recruitment as ordinary user acquisition processes. The legal system, forever a step behind the technology boom, struggled to conceptualise new forms of coercion and engineered influence. A breakthrough occurs when a joint investigative team uncovers that cult-owned AI models are not amateur scripts, but rival the sophistication of Japan's most advanced marketing agencies. Outreach engines apply complex scoring algorithms to every user profile, weighing not only demographic factors, but also behavioural data, patterns of late-night browsing, recent expressions of distress, history of self-help engagement. Recruitment workflows become self-improving, recalibrated according to data feedback from prior conversions. Layers of plausible deniability are built into every outreach script. Invitees who grow suspicious are quietly deprioritised or cut off. Even technical whistleblowers, risking professional ruin, report only incomplete fragments. A receipt here, a vanished chat group there, against a system that erases its own tracks in real time. The fundamental structure at play is not one of charismatic leadership, but of a distributed, algorithmic bureaucracy. Recruitment proceeds without physical proximity or shared belief. Loyalty is triggered and reinforced by digital presence alone. Loopholes in Japanese law treat most algorithmic outreach as protected speech or content creation, blunting regulatory intervention even after psychological harm occurs. Surveillance efforts by both platform moderators and police detectives prove nearly useless, since the architect of influence is not a person, but an evolving mathematics, guided by anonymised data and automated workflows. Even the standard public accountability mechanisms, media exposure, legal inquiries, find themselves locked out by proprietary algorithmic walls and the chilling effect of aggressive industry lobbying. Illustrative of these failures is the case of a prestigious Tokyo university, where a cluster of students faded from public life over several months. Their only known commonality, participation in an online coaching platform billed as a support community for academic and life pressures. No single piece of evidence tied their isolation to cult activity. Nevertheless, digital forensic investigation unearthed a chilling pattern. The students' entire online environment, from personalised advice bots in group chats to payment nudges for escalating levels of membership, had been orchestrated by adaptive, artificially intelligent systems. Each bot interaction was tailored to pre-calculated stresses and personal data, trapping users within a dependency spiral masquerading as self-improvement. The transition from community to control was seamless, engineered by code, not by overt charisma. Systemic oversight fractures under such pressure. Corporate platforms, wary of legal and reputational fallout, suppress anomalies in algorithmic moderation metrics, reframing problematic trends as normal statistical outliers. Law enforcement remains resource-strapped and constrained by ambiguous statutes, responding reactively to clear-cut theft or fraud, but paralysed in the face of digital coercion and psychological targeting. Regulators push for algorithmic transparency laws, but cult networks simply migrate code repositories overseas, operate through rotating clouds of shell accounts, and obfuscate money flows with multi-layered digital currencies. Even when one channel is exposed, new ones multiply in its place, eluding jurisdiction and dispersing culpability across countless phantom nodes. A vital weakness in the cult network system finally surfaces during a methodical audit of third-party server logs. Digital forensics experts, analysing routine technical maintenance scripts, accidentally uncover traces of massive data scraping, high-volume, automated siphoning of user information from dating apps, therapy forums, and professional networking sites. These operations compile user histories, vulnerabilities, and interpersonal connections into immense shadow databases, enabling hyper-personalised targeting at scale. While the overwhelming majority of digital users never detect the incursion, a highly perceptive few, those who notice anomalous ads, duplicate friend requests, or abrupt access denials, find themselves rapidly shadow banned, their accounts locked, or entire communities rendered inaccessible. In these moments, the delimiter between targeted profiling and outright predation is breached. The stripped autonomy and loss of digital access amount to a subtle yet profound form of social exile. The exposure of this shadow infrastructure triggers at last a cascading series of institutional responses. News breaks of parliamentary hearings in Tokyo on the topic of algorithmic indoctrination, attended by government officials, tech executives, and the occasional traumatised whistleblower. The technical evidence presented is dense and esoteric. Model outputs, vulnerability indices, and digital interaction heat maps, daunting to policymakers and easily spun by industry advocacy groups. Nonetheless, the narrative shifts. Major journalists, previously dependent on official press lines, begin mapping connections between anonymous influencer accounts and a wave of self-identified new spirituality among urban youth. Public outrage mounts, but change proceeds unevenly. Faced with mounting pressure, tech firms make incremental concessions, launching task forces, promising greater transparency, and touting advances in ethical AI. However, cult networks promptly adapt, adapting their outreach by switching to closed, encrypted forums and new ephemeral platforms beyond easy oversight. Legal reforms stall as powerful interests debate freedom of speech, data privacy, and the blurry boundary between sincere belief and algorithm-driven manipulation. Civil society groups step into the regulatory void, creating victim support organisations and pushing for algorithmic accountability at both national and international levels. The consequences of algorithmic cult manipulation are severe and wide-ranging. For many young adults, the psychological harm lingers well after disengagement. Persistent anxiety, shattered social networks, long-term financial losses from donations, or unrecoverable fees for spiritual advancement. Support hotlines operating late into the Tokyo night field, growing numbers of desperate calls, many from individuals too ashamed or isolated to seek help in person. For some, the only recourse is anonymity and digital withdrawal. For others, the trauma fuels a determination to organise, advocate, and demand reform. New alliances emerge, digital survivors collaborating with investigative journalists, civil liberties lawyers, and a few enlightened technologists to demand algorithmic transparency, stricter identity verification, and enforceable standards of digital due process. On the institutional side, Japanese regulators and law enforcement remain locked in a difficult battle. The ambiguities of religious freedom, digital speech, and technological accountability complicate every intervention. International cooperation is essential but fraught, with encrypted traffic and dispersed infrastructure rendering prosecution nearly impossible. Meanwhile, corporate platitudes about user safety run up against the persistent profit incentives for data extraction and engagement maximisation. Whistleblowers who speak out face harassment, legal intimidation, or personal ruin. Only the most determined public inquiries can sustain momentum against a nimble, ever-evolving enemy. Ultimately, as this case file closes, the reality remains both urgent and unfinished. The system morphs and adapts faster than regulations can catch up, spawning new variants every cycle of platform evolution. Investigators concede they are always a step behind, a digital hydra, multiplying with every new app, every viral channel. What endures is an open contest for personal autonomy and identity, fought in the unremarkable fields of algorithmic suggestion and data flows. Vanquishing the cult algorithm will require not just technical fixes, but fundamental reconsiderations of what it means to consent, to believe, and to remain free in a world where the tools of influence are encoded into the very fabric of digital society.